Wil Wheaton is he's a high-profile member of the resistance, and the mob has come for him. A lot of people were talking about Chris Hardwick when he got accused of impropriety with his girlfriend. He lost his job, they brought his show back. And a lot of people said Wil Wheaton was friends with this guy, and they thought that Wil Wheaton would be taken down. A lot of people thought that Wil Wheaton would be accused. He would be Me Too'd, as some people have said it, that some woman would Me Too him, meaning that he's done something wrong. However, it appears now that his transgression is that he's too close with abusers, that he is transphobic, that he's supported TERFs, trans-exclusionary radical feminists, and because of this, women and trans men don't feel safe around him. On my main channel, I talked about Wil Wheaton being banned from Mastodon and what happens when the far left gets a hold of their own platform, what they're going to do with it. And it would seem like Wil Wheaton was unjustly removed. He didn't break any rules, people just didn't like him, so they got rid of him. And it's funny, because things like this, they often remind me of that comic from XKCD that doesn't understand the difference between a government restriction and a right. Okay? I've talked about this, but let's just say it. Free speech is a principle. It is a social and ethical principle that applies to Western cultures. But it's only enforced, technically, I shouldn't say enforced, but the First Amendment protects your free speech, your fundamental right, from government infringement. Okay? Meaning, anybody can take your free speech away. Anybody can censor you, depending on the circumstances, but the government is restricted from doing so. Free speech and the First Amendment, not the same thing. But there's that comic, you've probably seen it, where the little stick figure says that no one has a right, no one has to host you when you talk, when you say, stupid shit, and thus anyone can ban you. It's not a violation of your free speech. What's funny is that people often use this in reference to some kind of transgression. Someone did something wrong, they've got to be banned from a platform, someone said a swear word or hate speech. In this instance, Wil Wheaton did literally nothing. That's it. Apparently he blocked someone. I got this Medium post from Amber Ederton. And on my main channel, we went over the things that, the issues of being accused and being banned and what this means for social media as a whole. Let's look at the actual accusations laid against Wil Wheaton. So I'm going to get a little bit into this story, and I'll probably end up deviating, but this person writes, Wil Wheaton has a listening problem. Wil Wheaton has left Mastodon after facing pressure and hostility from both the community and the staff. Yesterday, Wheaton got BOFA'd, okay? You know what BOFA is? A BOFA is an adolescent prank named after its most popular iteration, BOFA. The prank works like this. You drop BOFA into seemingly innocuous conversation, and when they ask what BOFA is, you say BOFA D's nuts. Vulgarity aside, BOFA is a common prank on celebrities and commoners alike. Yes, and there's a bunch, I don't know all of them, but there's BOFA and there's the original's like Henway. Someone would be like, oh, I think it's a henway, and someone goes, what's a henway? And they go, about 5 pounds, but really dumb jokes. Wheaton did not take the prank well and immediately reported the user, a trans woman, for the prank. A brief muting by one of Mastodon's instances led to a greater discussion about pranking celebrities, especially celebrities who are being pranked for a troubling history with problematic comments and behaviors. The reason the prankster being a trans woman is important is because she is one of a growing number of trans folks and cis women who just don't feel safe around Wheaton. Rather than addressing these concerns, Wil Wheaton has adopted a policy of sticking his fingers in his ears, which on social media amounts to blocking people. Hold on! The criticism of Wheaton from the far left is that he blocks people. He shouldn't be allowed to block people. I just don't understand what the fuck is going on anymore. So, these people on the far left, they block people all the time. They use block lists, mass block lists. I'm blocked by a bunch of people I've never interacted with because they just share a list. Admittedly, I'm blocked much less than many people because, I found that my opinions are just never strong enough to warrant being included in any of these problematic posts. I see posts talking about, Sargon and Chris Reagan and Lacey Green and all these people. They never talk about me because I just don't think my opinions are strong enough at all. When I make a video where I'm critical of a little bit of everybody, but I'm kind of hard on the regressive left, people like this who are, anti-free speech, but I'm rather moderate. It's just not juicy to be like, Tim Pool's problematic too, because then they watch my videos and they're like, Tim's actually kind of boring. I don't even know why you guys watch these videos. You guys are crazy. But how is it? Okay, hold on. This trans woman who was blocked by Wil Wheaton feels not safe around Wil. Apparently, they don't feel safe around Wheaton because they pranked Wheaton and Wheaton blocked them. So they're complaining that they were blocked. This is why Wil Wheaton was removed from Mastodon. Can you imagine just how absolutely fucking insane it would be if Twitter was run by, Twitter is essentially being run by a lot of these types of people. Upon seeing this, I have to think, wow, Twitter actually, they're doing all right. Maybe that's what this is. This is a psyop. It's a psychological operation to make us okay with just how bad Twitter really is when it comes to censorship, because this is way worse. Look, I don't block people. I will mute people sometimes if they're spamming me. But for the most part, I don't. I think it's important that I hear you insult me. When I'm on Twitter and someone says something really dumb about me or insults me or criticizes me, I think it's important that I read that. Admittedly, there are some comments that I'll hear that will, trigger me emotionally. And I'll feel bad, or I'll be like, ooh, and it can really screw with me and shake my confidence. It happens. But for the most part, I'm kind of an indifferent, nihilistic individual for the most part. Look, I grew up in left anarchism, and so I really just am like, about so much things. And it's like when you for years, I've been inundated by people attacking me, insulting me, physically attacking me. When you watch someone in Egypt get a shotgun blast to the chest and they die, which I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but yes, I did see someone die in Egypt, and they had these handmade shotguns. When you have to duck from live ammunition, like, these words just kind of don't mean anything to you after a while. And I'm sitting here just kind of like watching people complain about all this nonsense, and I'm like, I get it. I get why people are mad. They haven't experienced real strife. So they're going to get angry over like seemingly innocuous things. And I get it. I try to empathize with that and say, okay, the problems you experience are the problems of your life. You haven't experienced other things. I'm not going to hold that against you. But it seems rather hypocritical. And there's, it's like, I think a lot of what the far left is just a mob roaming around with pitchforks, having no idea what's going on. And look, I can always, I always have to preface these with like, yes, there are instances where the right does stuff like going after James Gunn, and whether you think it's right or wrong, it's not my opinion. The point is, I can't map what the left does, okay? I don't know the rules. And this is what I'm all about. I'm a hacker. I'm all about the system, seeing what goes where and what, how things are calculated. I look at how things work and I change them. And then they do different things. That's what hackers do. Make something do something it wasn't intended to do. And for, my area of expertise growing up was social engineering. Social engineering specifically refers to human hacking. A lot of people misunderstand. They think when CNN lies about Trump, that's social engineering. It's technically, but not really. Social engineering would be like mirroring someone's body movement so they trust you, using certain words so they feel more comfortable around you, and knowing how to engage, how to use body language. Salespeople are really great social engineers, but it's also like a good example would be prank calling, a store and claiming to be the manager of another store and saying you need to, fully comp this next family that comes in. That's social engineering. It's like hacking people, understanding how the system works. So when I look at the left and everything they do, I'm trying to figure out why they do what they do and how the machine functions. And honestly, it doesn't. It's just a mob. It's a bunch of people with pitchforks. Why is Wil Wheaton being attacked? He didn't do anything. He blocked someone who pranked him. But that's grounds for removal. So they said the main concern that was addressed in the ensuing pandemonium was Wil Wheaton's endorsement of Randy Harper's personal blocklist. While Wil Wheaton did finally address people's concern in his parting words on Mastodon, it is muddled with a sense of too little too late and the growing frustration with how little he appreciates the harm he has done. Apparently, Randy Harper is a TERF, and she made a block list that has a bunch of trans people on it. So when Wil Wheaton was using it, he was banning trans people, and that's transphobic. So, sorry, Will. You gotta go. You are not allowed to block people, okay? That's only on Twitter. On Twitter, you can block people. On Mastodon, you're not allowed to block people. I guess. So when Randy Harper pushed her personal blocklist as a replacement to GG Autoblocker, apparently like Gamergate Autoblocker, a lot of people in the games industry quickly subscribed to it. And this resulted in hundreds of trans folks getting blocked by the games media publishers and other gaming folk. Some trans folk in the indie gaming circuit reported massive losses almost right away, with several still claiming that sales never recovered after being purged, as Twitter was the primary source of promotion. It's almost like arbitrary blocking people and censoring people is a problem for everybody, and you shouldn't be advocating it. Now, I'm not saying this person who wrote this really does advocate that, but Wil Wheaton certainly does, and it's come to bite him in the ass, because now you're auto-blocking. Will has, bitten you in the ass. Personally, this is ridiculous. Like, I think it's absurd that Will blocked me on Twitter when I've never interacted with the guy, but he's allowed to. I can criticize him all day and night, but all day and night he's allowed to do it. And, look, I don't like what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. And if Wil wants to say, I'm never going to listen to you and plug his ears, it's annoying. I think it's silly, but sure. This is extreme. On Twitter, you can block people. On Mastodon, apparently, blocking people is tantamount to transphobia, and but they go on, all right? So I don't want to prattle on too much. This is hardly his only blunder involving trans issues. More recently, he was a celebrity endorsement for Brianna Wu, a candidate who, among other things, notoriously donated to the North Carolina GOP after they passed a bill meant to purge trans people from public spaces. I thought Brianna Wu was a trans person. I didn't know that. I don't know how much of this is true, by the way. This is just me reading a Medium post about Wil Wheaton. Keep that in mind. The most recent dust-up with Wheaton wasn't about trans-specific issues, but over his friendship with Chris Hardwick. As Ben Affleck so kindly illustrated when he admitted to not really doing anything despite knowing Weinstein was abusing women, Hollywood has a problem with celebrities' friends basically remaining silent as they abuse and molest women. Wil, you are no Kelly Marie Tran, you're no Leslie Jones, you weren't chased off social media by misogynists who hate that women are in their franchises, you were chased off social media by feminists who feel unsafe having a guy who defends predators and routinely harms trans people just shooting the breeze about World of Warcraft like you're just some guy. You're not just some guy, Wil. You're the guy that hurts us. Unlike you, until you take your fingers out of your ears and start listening to the concerns of the marginalized groups you talk over, while claiming to be allied with, you will continue to be a threat that has now been neutralized, at least on Mastodon. There is no haven. There is no safety. The reason why I'm so principled in favor of free expression and the right for people to be on these platforms and communicate even when they're deplorable is this is how the other side, those who crave power, who are authoritarian, take things. You know, in my main video, I talked about the South Park episode, and I think I want to do like a video on that because it's really amazing how South Park used to actually address these issues. I feel like they're really scared now. I don't know. I'm not going to rant on South Park too much, but too often when it comes to these issues, I will say, hey, explain to me what you mean. And then there'll be this full caps tirade about how I'm not going to educate you and it's your responsibility. And it's like, listen, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. And if you're not going to tell me what you're talking about, don't be surprised when I just click the block button because admittedly I don't block people, but don't be surprised when other people do. So Wil Wheaton has been excommunicated. He's apparently been run off social media altogether because the right doesn't like him. The libertarian anti-social justice people don't like him. And now the left doesn't like him. So I don't know what allies he has left. Maybe just, run-of-the-mill nerds and stuff who like watching his video game stuff. But Wil, you entered politics. You played the game wrong, and because of it, you've been eaten alive. And I think it sucks. I thought Wesley Crusher was a great character. I also think it's really stupid how people always, I will say that when people say "shut up, Wesley," there's a point where it becomes harassment because they know it's meant to just piss him off. And the snowflake doesn't blame itself for the avalanche. So I would never be someone who would do that. I would enjoy sitting down with Wil Wheaton and talking about the issues. I personally think he's reactionary. He's lacks empathy. I find him to be a very mean person. I find him to be I really do feel like he's somebody who sits there with his fingers in his ears and just yells as loud as he can while ignoring everything around him. And because of this, he has lost support from basically everybody. So I hope he comes back to Twitter, and I hope he becomes more rational and moderate. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's going to go away for a long time. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, stick around. I got a couple more videos coming up in just a few minutes.